Okay, very good morning to everyone and welcome to our daily devotion. Today we'll be focusing on Psalms chapter 85. So turn to your physical copy or your digital copy, whichever is to your comfort, and let's get into it. First of all, we look at the context of what's going on in the Psalms before we delve into a short reflection. So this psalm is written most likely after the exile in Babylon ended, and the Israelites are back to the promised land. So the psalmist first of all celebrates that ever since God has founded Israel, the people of Israel have had favor in God, and that God, instead of going for justice even when the Israelites have rebelled, God has always shown mercy and kindness to them. And but still, now we can see in verse 8:4, the psalmist begs God to restore Israel to their former glory. We can see that Israel, even though they have come back from the exile, we can see that there's still some okay, wait. We can see that despite coming back from the Israel, we can see that despite coming back from the exile, the people of Israel have not fully gone to their former glory. There are still some infighting going on. There's still some difficulties for them to go back to their former glory. And so the psalmist is begging God to restore Israel to their former glory. And he's praying on behalf of the Israelites. And the psalmist promises God that Israel, now on behalf of Israel, is making that Israel will obey him once God restores them to their former glory. And then the psalmist prays that Israel's obedience would clear a path for God's favor and for Israel to once again walk alongside God. And that psalmist hopes that if Israel obey, God will care for and favor for his people again. So this is what a brief summary of the psalm. Now what can we take away from this? Now throughout this we can see that the psalmist is asking for God to restore Israel to his former glory. And we can take away that God's past faithfulness gives us confidence to pray boldly for renewal and for favor. Now what do I mean by that? Now you can see that the psalmist is asking God to return Israel to his former glory. What is their former glory? Before Egypt, before the destruction by Babylon, Israel were one of the strongest nations, or Jerusalem were one of the strongest nations. Now how is he claiming so boldly? Because God has done time and time again by delivering Israel from Egypt, by delivering them from Babylon. God has shown time and time again that he stays true to his word. And that we can see that through this, that when we reflect on God's past faithfulness in our lives, now in our lives there will be so many instances where God has been so faithful to us, where God has been so wonderful to us that we may even think of it as minute and just brush it aside. But there are so many instances that we so easily casually look over. So in those instances, that should give us the confidence to pray boldly for God's favor and for his love and care in our lives. And so when we reflect on God's past faithfulness in our lives, it should inspire us. Now I'll end it with a small question. So when you reflect on God's past faithfulness in your lives throughout your studies, or be it your job, or be it your business, or whatever maybe you be doing, throughout God's faithfulness, how does it inspire you to change your prayer today? Now usually when we pray, we always pray, God give me this, give me that. But is there ever sometimes that we are thankful for what God has done to our life? So knowing this in the short devotion, how God has been faithful and he will continue to be faithful in your lives, how will this change your prayer and the way you pray every day? With that, I like to end this devotion. Thank you.